ऑफिस लेवल से लेकर ग्रुप लेवल तक जा रहा था। वो पता है सामान से पता चलता है बच्ची कब तक की तरह बढ़ रहा है।
अब बस अज़ान नहीं क्या
नहीं
आप ही चलो। أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله رسول الله وخليفته بالعفاس. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله رسول الله وخليفته بالعفاس. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صلوات على محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Respected sisters and brothers, my youngsters, my elders, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. On the day of Jummah, compulsory, it is wajib to mention taqwa, ittaqullah, ittaqu rabbukum, to remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be conscious and to be weary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs and our dealings. And as we move forward in our discussions on the Risalat al-Hukuk, the rights, we, as you know, have to, as different events come about, we slightly divert and then inshallah come back to the original subject matter. One of the things that I wanted to, alaykum assalam. One of the things that I wanted to mention today was sharing some data, if I can call it that, on literacy and on the interest of reading and Islam. And what I wanted to share was some statistics that came across, which I have not been able to authenticate or verify at the moment yet, but I think it's important for us to just begin or open this the subject matter, and that is the importance of reading and the importance of basically enhancing our knowledge through literature, through books. It seems that now we rely on the internet for a lot of information. And relying on the internet, I'm not saying is necessarily bad, but like in any other field, there has to be a moderation and there has to be some degree of authentication as well. And we often find that people will just forward messages, and now, there's been a new trend. It says forwarded as received. And so I don't bother checking, and they just forward everything to everybody. And even sometimes it's ludicrous items of putting animal fats in coffees and having rat urine on pop cans and all kinds of very, very interesting and colorful things are on the message that gets circulated. And then somebody then put all of these things together and got frustrated and to say, I stopped drinking pop, I stopped drinking this, I stopped eating margarine, because margarine is like Tupperware plastic, and so it becomes, where does it stop? Where does it end? And so one of the things that the mu'minin need to do is make sure that they filter out and they understand what they're forwarding, because ultimately some of the big companies that I have actually been in touch with have asked me that if you receive something like this, please let us know, because let us know where you got it from, because we want to take action on those who are circulating these kinds of false or misleading information. And many of these companies are actually getting angry and frustrated that somebody might have had a bad experience with a certain company or a certain product, and then they start sending out emails or sending out messages saying that this company's every other product is bad. And this happens quite on a regular basis. And so one of the things that we have to remember and keep in mind is that the same way we speak, we share information, or we tell somebody something, and we can be challenged on that, the same applies to sending out messages, whether it's a WhatsApp message, an email message, whether it's a spam, whether it's a forward. Ultimately, if I send it to somebody, I have a certain degree of responsibility on that message, regarding or pertaining to that message. And so one of the things that, because when I was actually doing this, the research from a Shar'an point of view, the same thing, I was discussing with a scholar, with an alim, and he was saying that obviously the same laws that apply in face-to-face are the same laws that apply online. Okay, so the same way that you would not say something to a non-mahram, or you would say something to a non-mahram in front of them, would be the same that would be applicable online or in a chat group or in an email message, for example. So one of the things that Islam had reminded us of to observe taqwa, and that's why when we say on Friday taqwa is an important and integral part of the khutbah, is that it reminds us to be aware of Allah whatever we do. So whether we're speaking to somebody, we're looking at somebody, or we're chatting with somebody. So if I put on if I put on a curtain and I put a fake name or a fake profile, and then I'm starting to communicate or dealing with somebody, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be hidden. We can hide from each other, but we cannot hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the laws are the same. As a Muslim, as a believer, we have to keep in mind that we are accountable and answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this accountability sometimes gets forgotten in our internet squibbles that we're going through. And so we have to just remind ourselves that, not only on Friday, Jummah, the day that we are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more, it's not like, other faiths that they only remember God on Sundays, or they only remember the Elijah on Saturday. We have to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day. Friday is just that recharge. I often compare this to my students sometimes, that the Friday, the Jummah is this is just an example. Please don't take it too literally. But you use your phone and you have your tools and your trinkets and your laptops. You use it the whole time, and then some people at night have to recharge the battery, and then in the morning it's just fully charged, so you can use it for another day. So basically, Allah Ta'ala makes sure that we have 6 days. Shaitan tries to attack us. Allah gives us those opportunities, those reminders every day with our salat, with our remembrance and dhikr. And then Friday is when we are plugging in that battery to get the 100%, or to get as close to 100% as possible. So what we're saying is, that to keep in mind that all these things that go around us, and we're coming back to the issue of literacy, we don't want to just forward or do things that are just because everybody else is doing it, we want to do it. Just we want to seem cool or seem like a part of the thing. We forward everything, and sometimes you have umpteen messages on the same subject from different places, which is not always bad. I mean, alhamdulillah, everyone's on different groups, so they will have different messages. But please make sure that you see or at least have an idea of some degree of authenticity. If it is, and one of the things that I try and do now, and those who are on my list will know, I rarely send out forwards. I rarely send out messages, because if somebody says that this doctor has said this, this is a cure for diabetes, or this is a cure for heart disease, or this is a cure for that, I actually try and Google that name, make sure that doctor really exists, and you'll be surprised how many times those doctors who said that I've got the cure for heart diseases, or I've got the cure for leprosy, you type in their name, the doctor so-and-so said this, that doctor doesn't exist. So that right away is a cue that this message may not be as authentic as we would like it to be, or we think it is, or we would hope that it is. But coming back to what I was saying, the issue of literacy, this is where we as a community need to take a few things very seriously, and we need to take things a little more proficiently than what we have been doing. One of the things, a survey that I was just reading into, was that in parts of the Middle East, the non-Muslim parts of the Middle East, and in Europe, the amount of reading that takes place is in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 books in a year. So there are some Europeans and some North Africans and in other places that they may read 10 to 15 books in a year. I'm not talking about booklets or articles, I'm talking about actual books. And it said, when you compare that to the Muslim world, an average Muslim will read one book in a year. Now, the reason why this was scary to me was a statement that I'd heard from my days in Qom when I was there in the late 80s. One of my colleagues, one of my fellow students, one of my classmates in Qom was telling me that a friend of his had traveled to Paris. And he came back with a statement, and this was a very profound statement. He said, when I was in Paris, I saw Islam, but I didn't see Muslims. The social networks, the akhlaq, at that time, the dress codes and everything were somewhat decent. Their interaction, their professionalism, social network means, the welfare system, looking after each other, having housing for the needy and the poor, having soup kitchens, having, food banks, things like that. I saw Islam, but I didn't see Muslims. When I came back to Egypt, this is what he was saying. I saw lots of Muslims, but I didn't see Islam. There was garbage everywhere, there was litter everywhere, there was no akhlaq, people were lying, stealing, cheating, and saying wallah on every other statement. Even on my recent trip, I was quite, there, somebody who was once telling me, wallah, this pen works. I said, did you have to say wallah? Did you have to take an oath on Allah? Even if the pen works, I will trust you unless you've lied to me. So you don't have to, this is something that has become so culturally in hand that, like second nature. Wallahi this and wallahi that and Allah ki qasam. And, as it is, the Aimma have been very hesitant. If you look at any of the hadith, there are, thousands and thousands of hadith. And rarely, unless the Imam wants to highlight very significantly a point, they will never, even the Imams whose whole life and tongue is sadaqat, is honesty and integrity, even they very sporadically will use wallahi. In one of the earliest hadiths that we had memorized, in which the Imam has been quoted saying, Wallahi ma shi'atuna illa man ittaqullaha wa ata'ahu. That I swear by Allah, nobody can be our Shia unless they have taqwa and they obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is one of the few hadith that you will find whereby the Imam uses the swear, the oath, that wallahi. And so what we find is that sometimes we find Muslims, but we don't find Islam. We've lost the message. And when I said that to start out to this discussion was that Islam came as the religion of knowledge. The Quran mentions Rabbi zidni ilman. Allah increase me in knowledge. The very first ayat that was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was what? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah khair. Iqra. In fact, the word Quran is from the same root as Iqra. The word Quran, of course, it means we talk about the book of Allah, the Kitab Allah, this, that, the Furqan and everything. But the word Quran means recitation. Recitation, Qira'ah, Quran, Iqra, are all from the same family, from the same roots. And so when we look at the message of Islam, the initial message of Islam was to read. And then we find that Muslims are the least read, according to statistics and data, are amongst the least read people in the world. And then we wonder why we're being oppressed. We wonder why we're being downtrodden. We wonder why we're not progressing and advancing. And sometimes, and myself included, I rely on the rich cultural history of Muslims. We invented this, we invented that. We were the first ones to design airplanes. We were the first ones to do the eye operation. We were the first ones in medicine. We were advancing in geography and in maps and in navigation. And we rely on that. Well, how did that come about? It was because they were read. They were well read. They made sure that that ayat of the Quran that says, Iqra, bismi rabbika al-a'la, was implemented, not just there to recite the Quran, but to act on the Quran Majid. And so we've left that, and then we wonder why we are where we are. Others took it. So they took Islam, and we stayed happy, keeping our names whatever they were. We stayed happy being whoever we were, thinking that, okay, we're going to go to Jannah anyways, why do we have to do anything in the dunya? And as a result, we see that we suffer the consequences. And it's not anybody else's fault, it's our own. And we like to give ourselves excuses. We like to say, I'm so busy, I try to keep up with my 5 daily prayers, my 17 daily rakats. I try and at least do a tasbih here and there, maybe a couple of ayats a month I read, but in Ramadan I will read a lot more. And we give ourselves excuses that I'm very busy, I don't have time for this. And then I compare that with somebody who is reading, as I said, 15 books in a year. That's on average a book a month. And I was talking to one of my interfaith colleagues, because whenever a new book or something of relevance comes out, he, mashallah, reads it and he's able to discuss it on a very intellectual level. And so I once joked, I said, how do you find time to read? He said, you have to make the time to read. You won't find the time. You won't find gold just standing out there, to go and pick up. You have to go dig for it. You have to filter it. You have to go, panning for it. It doesn't just come to you like that. We have to make the time. We have to allocate the time and see what our priorities are. And if you look at the average amount of time, any one of us, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, I'm only pointing fingers at myself. If I look at how much time I'm spending on my phone, on the WhatsApp, somebody was telling me WhatsApp is like a baby's diaper. People will check it all the time, but most of the time there's nothing in there. It's anyways, I don't want to go into that detail. I don't have the time, but at least you're understanding which direction I'm actually going in. And if we look at those hours that we spend, and the hours that we spend on things like Facebook, and the hours that we spend, on Instagram, Telegram, and this and that, and checking this, that, and the other, and we were to allocate only 25% of that time. You see, you notice, people have accused me sometimes of being anti-technology, anti-phone, anti-cell phone, anti-this and anti-that, and uncle this and uncle that. But I said, I'm not against any of this. It is a matter of allocating priorities, because those messages may not have intellectual property to them. They may not have intellectual value, not necessarily. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying on the whole. But when you read literature, read a book, and you see that there may be references there is intellectual value to that, this will help enhance our own knowledge and understanding of the situation of whatever that book may be talking about, whatever that literature may be talking about. And then when we do this at a communal level, when we are able to then discuss at an intellectual level, well, this new book came out, this new article has come out, this new research is out, then we can say that, okay, now we can progress and advance as a community. Otherwise, we will be behind, and we'll continue to remain behind. And I just wanted to spark that to the Mu'mineen, because this was a disturbing data that I got, that we are amongst the least read Muslims, and it didn't go to any cultural or ethnic background or linguistic background. It says as a faith group, Muslims are very less read than others. And so this is something we need to analyze, that having the first ayah of the Quran called Iqra, And then we become the least read means that we intentionally or deliberately have left the Quranic injunctions. If we've left the Quranic injunctions, we've left the prophetic injunctions. And if we've left the prophetic injunctions, then we will have no one to blame but ourselves to see the mess that we are in. When we educate ourselves, when we intellectually advance ourselves, then we will grow greater. Because when the mind grows, the body automatically grows. The community automatically advances. It is there because we can't just rely on the past. We can't just rely on history that, well, we've come from there. Of course, there's value to history. I'm not saying that. I'm not downplaying the importance of history. We are where we are because of our history. We have maintained our faith and our aqidah because of what has happened. And inshallah, in the second khutbah, there's a couple of things I'll share with you on this issue. So I'm hoping and praying that inshallah, myself included, we will try and allocate more time to our reading, to enhancing our own knowledge, and apply the Rabbi Zidni Ilman verse of the Holy Quran and the verses of the Holy Prophet and the I.H.S on knowledge. If I was to begin there, I would not be able to stop. There's in Sheikh Kuleni's Usul Kafi, the first two books are Kitab al-Fadail al-Ilm and Kitab al-Ilm wal-Jahl. The book of knowledge, the importance of knowledge, and the book of knowledge and ignorance. So you can see right at the beginning, not only in the Quran, the hadith of the Prophet and the A'immah, but even the ulama have began their writings with knowledge and with the importance of knowledge, so that once you understand the importance of knowledge, inshallah, we will try and apply it as well. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وصلي على وصي رسول رب العالمين وأمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين مولانا علي بن أبي طالب وآله وصلي على بنت رسول رب العالمين سيدة النساء العالمين صديقة الطاهرة أم الأئمة فاطمة الزهراء وسلم على سبط نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة إمام الحسن والحسين والأئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين سيد العابدين صلى على محمد وعلى محمد ومحمد بن علي الباقر للنبيين وجعفر بن محمد الصادق الباري الأمين وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى ومحمد بن علي التقي الجواد صل على وعلي بن محمد النقي الحادي وآل محمد والحسن بن علي الزكي العسكري والإمام القائم الهادي المهدي المنتظر صل على وآله اللهم عجل فرجه وقرب زمانه وكثر أنصاره وأهلك أعداءه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى وارزق توعا وتمتع فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صل على محمد وآل محمد أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتبارك في كتابه الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله كونوا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. Once again I remind myself and the believers to observe the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to be conscious and weary of Allah ta'ala in all of our affairs. As the first khutbah was dedicated to knowledge and the second khutbah is of course contemporary issues and current issues, over the last week and a bit I had the honor and the opportunity to meet with a number of the Maraja in Najaf Ashraf who have given their salams, and some of the Mu'min who used to live here have given their salams to all of you and to the community here at the I.H.S. and at the in the Kitchener, Waterloo and surrounding areas. And Hazrat Ayatollah Sistani, Hazrat Ayatollah Bashir Najafi and Hazrat Ayatollah Saeed Al-Hakim, all of them have kept all of you in their prayers, and they've asked for your prayers as well. They've prayed for the community's progress, for our new center, and for inshallah the spiritual advancement of our community, of course the unity of our community as well. In the course of my discussion, one of the things that I had an opportunity to speak to Ayatollah Al-Hakim about, Saeed Al-Hakim, was one of the dangers that perhaps in my own conclusion or research over the last couple of years that I have sensed is on Aqidah. What is happening to us? Why are we deteriorating as a community on a number of fronts? Our numbers are growing, but our spirituality may not be growing as fast as our numbers are. And this is something I was able to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart talk with him, and with some tears in my eyes, I asked, I said, what do we do? How, please pray for us, but tell me what we should do. And his suggestion to me was that remind the people, remind the mu'mineen, the believers, of the greatness of the ai and the hadith that they've left behind as far as their interaction with each other and what they have said as far as spiritual growth is concerned. Remind them that even if somebody has got sort of weak iman or aqidah, inshallah they will be, if they hear what the imams have said and they are constantly reminded of the akhlaq, the station, the stature of the imams, they will automatically, inshallah, return back to that spiritual, ruhani greatness that is theirs. If we look now around us, and as I said, in the last couple of years, perhaps more so than in my early years of Islamic studies that I saw, was that there seems to be a distancing between ourselves and the Masumin. We get ingrained or we get emboldened in so many other issues that we forget some of those core values that our imams left us with. To the extent, and I mean, sometimes they may be irrelevant issues, but sometimes the irrelevancy becomes relevant. That if we, as something as simple as calling out to Ya Sahibul Zaman Adrikni or Ya Ali Madad, or something that once upon a time was heard a lot more than it is now, you can see which direction I'm going in. Because even amongst our Shia youth, there is a hesitancy to call out on the Aimma. And to say that, well, we should just say, Ya Allah Madad. Okay, fine. We're not denying or doubting that. But what we are saying is, Allah is the ultimate return of everything and everyone. That is without going to say. But if Allah Ta'ala Himself has delegated the authority and the ability and the status and stature to those whom He is close to, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close to, then by calling them out does not divert us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all in the least. I mean, Rasulullah in the battle of Khaybar and Uhud and Khandaq could have said, Ya Allah Madad, go Allah, help me out. Why was it that in the battle of Khaybar he asks for Ali? Where is Aina Ali ibn Abi Talib? Aina Ali? Where is Ali? The Prophet is, I mean, this is the Prophet who went right to Arsh Azim and who would have been the best example to say, Ya Allah, you help me defeat these, the Yahud of Khaybar. Ya Allah, you help me defeat in Uhud those who have been the polytheists who are fighting against us. So if the Prophet of Allah for whom the Quran and Majid says وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, that he does not speak except when a wahi is given to him. When the Prophet who has brought the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling out Ya Ali Madad, then who are we? Where is our status? If the Prophet said that the safety or the security or the protection of Islam is in the hands of Hussein ibn Ali, then where are we? Then why should we not call out Imam Hussein? Why should we not call out Imam Hassan? If the Prophet did it, and his actions are sublime and immaculate and perfect, then we are supposed to follow the example of the Prophet, not try to supersede the Prophet. But what happens here is that we feel uncomfortable. Especially, and it was a very funny episode that had happened, and I'm going to just share this personally. I try not to give my personal examples, but because this was something that just happened very recently in the last year, because of a little bit of a knee issue that I have, it's difficult for me to get in and out of taxis and all that. But in the UAE, in Dubai especially, this is the only way of transport. Nobody rents a car that much anymore. So I said, and because of the thing, it just came out, Ya Ali. And the driver looks at me immediately. He says, "Aap Mu'min ho?" And my first reaction is, Inshallah, I hope so. We hope we are Mu'min, Inshallah, bi'idhnillah. He says, "I'm also Shia." And it was interesting because this is not something that you would say in a majority non-Shia place. I mean, in Iran, it was, it's always beautiful. On 15th of Shaban, my driver was filling up gas, and they were, wishing each other Wiladat Imam Zaman Mubarak. They were wishing the person at the toll gate where we paid the tolls, they were wishing each other, Wiladat al-Imam Zaman Mubarak. I mean, it was a fascinating feeling. But the same thing doesn't obviously apply on 15th of Shaban when you're in UAE or in any non-Shia country. And so this was something that it became, really interesting to see. I remember when I was in my teenage years, I used to spend a bit of my time in the UK. And I was on the train, on the underground in the UK is known for its underground. And a lady says, I'm talking about years and years ago, okay? So no, the Muslim community wasn't so well and halal restaurants were not so common. This lady on the train says to me, "Assalamu alaikum." I said, "Alaikum salam." She says, "You're Shia?" So right away it get caught me off guard because you don't want to, you don't know who the other person is. I mean, of course, I'm not going to hide your faith or aqidah, but, you have to see what the situation circumstances are. And I says, Alhamdulillah, inshallah I am, but how did you know? She says, you've got the Shia business card, the Shia calling card. I says, what? She says, the Aqiq. And that reminded me right away of a hadith of Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, in which Mawla said, Mawla says that if the world knew the value of Aqiq and the power of Aqiq, it would have been so expensive that the Shia would not be able to afford it. But Allah Ta'ala did not give everybody the knowledge, the ilm of that, so that the Mu'mineen will benefit from it and will have their increase in their closeness to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So a lot of times what ends up happening is that we sometimes our faith needs to be reassessed and reanalyzed. And it's called, and the approach is called a back to the basics approach. Now let's go back to what our I.H.S have said. First of all, let's have our full belief in the I.H.S. And belief in the I.H.S starts with having yaqeen in Rasulullah. And yaqeen in Rasulullah starts with us understanding Tawheed itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate return, the ultimate goal. But He's not going to come here and talk to me and say, Brother Shafiq, do this or do that. This is where Allah Ta'ala told that if you love Allah and tuhibbuna Allah, fattabi'uni. The Quran Majid is quoting Rasulullah that if you love Allah, follow me. Follow me means when I do something, you do it as well. When I'm praying, you pray as well. When I'm fasting, you fast as well. When I teach you something, you follow it. It's a very back to the basics approach. It's something so simple that you may be wondering, why am I spending this Jummah khutbah discussing that? And I'm saying, this is a Marjai Taqleed who has gone through severe torture and punishment with his family under the time of the Ba'athist and Saddam Mal'un, telling me that remind the people of these basic values. And inshallah, the Aqidah will improve. This is something that really if we want to, again, as I mentioned in the first khutbah as well, as you know, for a second khutbah, I tried to do contemporary issues, but I think this was as relevant as what's happening around the world. And there's no shortage of things coming out of the US and the mouth of this perhaps the most ignorant president that the American history has ever had, that calling Africans and Haitians names that are not to be used for human beings. You know, thank God that there are sayings that say that what you say is what you are. You call other people, you know, ignorant names. What you say is what you are. So I think, alhamdulillah, that is the only consolation I have. But as I said, that you know, this was something I felt was relevant and important enough for me to spend this second khutbah on. Of course, we will have discussions and time to go into a little bit of depth and discussion, as I've used up my entire time today. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase our iman, our aqidah, and make us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Mahsumin alayhim assalam, who are the wasilas, the intermediaries that will inshallah get our du'as the boost that they need to give our hajat a boost that they inshallah need. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين عليا ولي الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة
قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الصلاة ونسك محياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين أستغفر الله كل ذنب. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا في الدنيا والآخرة إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى وقوته وأقعد واركع واسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعظائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم. اللهم لا تدع لي ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجت ولا سقما إلا شفيت ولا عيبا إلا سترت ولا رزقا إلا بسطت
ولا خوفا إلا أمنت ولا سوءا إلا صرفت ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولي فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين آمين يا رب العالمين.